Growing up, I was taught the harder I work, the more successful I will become. And to my mind as a child, that made total sense. After all, my father, who was a civil servant, always worked very hard to help the UK prosper in the late 90s and ended up getting an MBE from the Queen. Also, when I looked around, uncles and family friends who worked very hard were all growing their net worth, moving into bigger houses and living better and better lives. A decade later, when I joined the workforce, indeed, the harder I worked, the more successful I got, and subsequently, the more money I actually made. Often, I would be the first one in the office and the last one out. I would pick up all the actions from meetings and work really hard on all the projects, thinking that my hard work will continue to pay off. This worked in the early years. However, after the first few promotions, I realized that my hard work wasn't paying as much dividend as it was before. And now I would definitely not say working hard or harder than everyone else will help you prosper and make you more money. Actually, in 2025, that couldn't be further from the truth. So I thought I would share with you how to make more money by working less. If this is the type of content you're interested in and you're ambitious and you always want to learn, please subscribe. Everything I'll be sharing in this video helped me dramatically increase my income from my corporate job and my businesses. These are things that I've learned from my own personal experiences, case studies, ideas from productivity experts, and lessons from some of the most successful business people in the world. Watch till the end, as the last idea is the game changer that you need to implement in your life if you actually want to make more money. So let's get into it. Number one, your network is your net worth. In the early days of my career, I was paid less than my worth, not because I lacked the skill set, but simply because I did not put myself in front of the right people in the right network. I learned this harsh lesson when a colleague got promoted ahead of me, even though everyone in my team was unanimous in saying that I should have got the job. However, after being passed over for the role, I had to take stock and analyze why I didn't get the job. The truth was, my way of doing the actual work and getting the results in a corporate hierarchical structure in the modern day didn't work anymore, as now it was often the person who presented and promoted your work as theirs took the recognition, and that's exactly what happened to me. Look, put simply, all middle management want to do is learn the results, internalize them, then feed them up to their bosses in the upper management, who then want to be able to convey those results and what's going on in the company to the directors and CEO. You get the point. So I realized that if I had an idea to create growth or efficiency, then I would have to be the face of that project. I needed to gatekeep the idea until the right moment when I was in front of the right people, and then when asked to elaborate, I would ask to make a very short 4-minute presentation to explain my ideas. Whereas in the past, just because I didn't want to go to another city or fly to Europe for a 2-hour meeting, I would delegate that side of things to somebody else, as I wanted to use my time more efficiently. However, whether you like it or not, that person that you delegate to present your ideas becomes the person who's known by the management and thus promoted. Coming back to you, if you're thinking that you should be making more money, you need to find a market that holds more value for your skills. For example, I have a friend who's into property investment. He's very smart. He's one of those property developers that never really get his hands dirty. He's always suited and booted and ready to do a deal. He works with landowners and uses the bank's money to acquire plots of land in northern England and in Wales. And then he gets planning permission approved to build commercial properties. He then goes on to sell the same plot of land, now with planning approved for commercial properties on it, for 10 times more than what he paid for it. How does he do this, you may ask? He does this because of his network. His network consists of professionals who worked in planning departments, as well as architects who, due to their knowledge of UK planning laws, are able to get him fast turnaround times. And he also works on a profit sharing basis, meaning that everyone is incentivized in his network, so they all make sure that the deals are done really quick. He went from working a normal real estate sales job to now turning over millions in his business. If you're ambitious and want to learn and looking to build your network, don't forget to subscribe. Number 2 is the Pareto principle. This is one rule that you can apply to so many areas of your life, your career, your health and fitness, and your business. Even Steve Jobs applied this principle to turn Apple around and avoid bankruptcy. The Pareto principle suggests that 20% cause creates 80% of the results. For example, with losing weight, 80% of the weight loss comes from 20% of the effort of cutting out all food, junk food and soft drinks. When it comes to business, I know the Pareto principle works, as 20% of my products have brought in 80% of my sales. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple, the company was struggling. The first thing he did was to identify where 80% of the profits were coming from, and he cut the remaining products out. And after that, for a long time, Apple was known for three main products: the Apple iPhone, the iPad, and the Mac, as they were making the bulk of sales and profits and growing the brand. Look, just to be clear, it's not always going to be 80-20. It could be 70-30 or 90-10. But the point remains, the majority of the results come from the minority of the causes. And I've used this concept to make more money for myself while doing less. For example, I think of what 20% on my to-do list would bring me 80% of the results. And I only focus on those areas which give me the highest ROI, return on investment. So I align my day to focus on those projects that will make me more profit, and then I'm free to work on the other items down the list. Number 3 is set an achievement date. I used to be the sort of person that if I planned to try something new, I would spend ages trying to make sure I understand everything and that I have a plan for every single outcome before I even start. However, I've learned that this is a very clever form of procrastination and far from ideal if you want to get anything done. And if you want to make more money by doing less, you need to make sure you don't spend too much time in the planning stages. So now when I have a new idea or a new project, I make sure I set an action date, a go live date. When I first wanted to get into e-commerce, I would spend ages planning, checking the competitors, what they're selling, what their ROI is, what profit margins, where they're buying their products from, and where they're selling, what their ads look like, etc. etc. I would try to understand all the minutiae of the business 3 times over. And that's quite dangerous because before you realize it, you'll just get stuck in analysis paralysis. This used to happen to me. I realized that deep down, I was concerned that if my products, if my brands were successful, I would then have to take out loans and try and grow the business and put in a lot of hard work and effort. I was stuck in the prep and the planning phase like a busy fool, getting cheap dopamine hits by being busy, convincing myself that I'm actually getting somewhere and I'm in the business and I'm creating wealth. But actually, it just wasn't very productive. I wasn't making the money. I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. I wasn't taking the action steps required to make the business a success. So now, whenever I start something new, I pick an action date, a go live date, to which I stick to, and then I work backwards from there. Now from experience, I know I can always adjust the website later, the colors, the images, or the platform that I'm looking to sell on. But the main thing is to see how the business goes, see if there's any traction, and just iterate and try and grow some sales and see if you find some product market fit. Committing to a go live date actually helps to make you think and start to break down the steps and the processes involved. This gives you some clarity to get out of your own head and to actually work towards the results you're looking to get quicker. The fourth thing I did was focus on providing value over working more hours. You really do need to understand this if you're going to make more money by working less. To escape the time for money trap, you're going to have to make scalable and automated sources of income that are not tied to your day job at all. For most of us who've worked day jobs, worked careers, it's hard to change that type of thinking, as the main way we got conditioned to thinking about making more money is either working more hours or getting more of a salary. This was also my thinking for many years, so you're not alone if you've thought that way. The issue with this way of thinking is it comes with an earnings ceiling. There's only so much more time of yours that you could sell. I have a friend, she's a makeup artist. She does all types of makeups for different occasions, weddings, parties, engagements. You get the idea. She earned good money, however, there was always dips in her income in the off season, and she would never be able to come on holiday and relax or even get a mortgage to buy a home for herself. And this really frustrated her. So we brainstormed some ideas, and I helped her start an Instagram page. And she started to post makeup tips and videos on there. Her account grew, and over a couple of years, she got 40,000 followers. And eventually, she also started making money from Instagram ads and also by selling her own eyelash extensions and makeup. The majority of her clients bought from her. They recommended her to other friends, and the algorithm also helped her. And she started to make really good money consistently across each month. Whereas she used to have dips in her income, now there was no cap, there wasn't any ceiling, and she could make as much money as she could. She was working the same hours but making so much more money. Of course, this could be risky as there's no guarantees that this will work out. But we reasoned that as she would only lose her time and she wasn't taking on debt in opening a salon, the risk would be worth it. If you want to make more money by working less, to get out of the rat race, you need to change your perception of selling your time for money. There's a famous Warren Buffett quote that I like: if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will have to work until you die. Think about a skill that you have or that you could build to add value to the most amount of people's lives that you could, and think about using it in a positive way to impact other people's lives. So these are 4 things that I've been doing to make more money while working less. If you have enjoyed this video, I have another video here that you may enjoy. Please subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments.